Six, had to turn my mic on, AJ. 5:06 as we get the last hour in on this kind of steamy Friday. Let me start at the top and say the weather looks pretty good for the ball games tonight. We're not having the storms that caused such trouble last week. If y'all just getting out there, getting in it, that's good news. Still going to be steamy and muggy for a few more weeks, the early part of football season. If you're in hopefully the Gadsden area, there won't be any drive-by shootings tonight. Did y'all see that last week? Somebody went and shot up a Waffle House in a drive-by after a football game up in Gadsden last week. We haven't really covered that this week because we've been kind of covered up with other stuff. But just be careful out there, and good luck to your team, I guess, unless they're playing my team. And then I hope they lose. What else we got? Oh, this is weird. During the break, my wife came and joined me during the break. She popped in to say hello. And we both got spam calls at the same time. And for the first time, I have never seen the phone, let me pull this back up, say a potential political spam. It says spam ? Political. And I don't know if I've ever seen that on a call. If this thing will screen out, I'm just saying, I already can't answer my phone as it is from these fake lenders and all these people trying to break through. They all read the same script. It's a bunch of bot stuff. They're just random dialing numbers and trying to brute force some kind of scam. And you just got, it's just dysfunctional. Even if you know if the person's name, let's say it's somebody in your family pops up, that could be somebody spoofing their identity. You just got to watch everything you're doing. It's making traditional phone calling almost unusable on a phone. And here comes political season. And I had sort of, just a little while ago, I was talking about the presidential year being upon us. But we do have this governor's race, which will soon start heating up in terms of the spending. And that means yard signs and mailbox stuff and phone calls, nonstop phone calls from these auto dialers and these systems. But I didn't know that perhaps, now I have an Apple device. You have an Apple too, don't you, AJ? I think you also use an Apple.
Yes.
But it says spam ? Political. So that's new to me. I hope that's a good thing. I don't mind the phone screening those out because I pretty much just if I don't know the number, if I don't recognize it at all, it's going to my spam folder, and then you got to go clear all that stuff. They'll leave these voicemails and clog up your box. The funny thing is, we'd love the politicians to help us clean this stuff up, but it's the politicians that do half the calling. I mean, when you get into a political cycle, and by the way, they exempted themselves. Remember, we used to have this fake thing called the do not call list. We thought that was going to work. I remember I got on it the minute it was announced, like 10, 12 years ago, and re-upped not too long ago, completely worthless. But the United States Congress, and I think it's just for federal campaigns, exempted themselves and their pollsters from the do not call registry. In other words, you couldn't block them. How convenient for those guys. Anyway, got off on a tangent. The Knowles Group bringing you the show tonight. Let's talk about them real quick. Danny Knowles and his whole team. If you've got money to invest or money already invested and you want a better deal, if you want a personal touch, you want somebody that's going to shoot straight with you and take care of you, it's Danny. Danny's a lifelong friend. He's become very, very successful in this industry through a lot of hard work, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom and experience. And I honestly believe just being a straight shooter with people, sometimes if you're in the tough love business, which should be certain people, your football coach, your musical trainers, your personal trainer at the gym, there's some businesses where you're paid to just tell people stuff even if they don't want to hear it. I'd like to say you're a humble talk show host. Sometimes that's my job too, is just to say things nobody else wants to say. But in Danny's case, you have to do that sometimes. You got to give people what they need to hear if they really are sincere about getting on track. And he'll do that with you in the kind way that he and I grew up. But and the other thing about him is he hadn't forgotten the little town we came from and the circumstances he and I both came from and how hard people have to work to get there with their money. So he treats our listeners with such respect. We had a guy drop by Lonnie's furniture company last week just to brag on Danny. And I remember him telling me he couldn't believe Danny himself came in. Some of his sons were in the room helping him. And Danny said, no, I take a personal interest in Leland Live listeners, and they do. I'm just saying they're good to everybody, but if you call them from this show, they know that connection. They're going to take care of you, tell you what you need to know, and get you on track. Whether you're starting out, starting over, or already sitting on your retirement, you just want to do a little better and get yourself a pay raise. It's the KnowlesGroup.com, Noles, the KnowlesGroup.com. All right, let me run through some headlines. Then I'll try to find some fresh stuff for you. We'll throw the phone lines up. And we're a little bit loose this last hour, so if you've got something you've been wanting to talk about this week, we'll put you on the radio and take your phone calls this afternoon as well. They've sent the jury home in this Lindsay Clancy case. I barely covered it till this week. Now I've finally learned how to say her name. The jury deliberated all day, couldn't come to anything. The judge, it's always dicey. Honestly, a lot of these folks are lazy and they don't want to come back in on a Saturday. They don't have to open the courthouse up and bring all that staff back. So they sent them home for 2 straight days to sit around and stew over this case, potentially get, exposed to information from outside the case. I don't care how much admonishment a judge gives. These people are going to be curious as to what's being said outside that room. We'll see what they do coming up on Monday, or could go into Tuesday. It's too complex. There's a lot of complexities, and the judge, by throwing in the alternative potential sentence of manslaughter, even further complicates the case. If you've got 3 areas for guilty, you've got to vet all 3 of those areas against the evidence instead of 2. Does that make sense? And then, of course, there's the option to find her not guilty, which I think is a possibility in this case with 9 women and 3 men being on the jury. But they went home. They'll be back on Monday at 8 o'clock. And so there's that. I want to talk more about the beef thing in a little bit too. Walk back through that since we did that earlier in the show. I think we should give that a little bit more treatment. But another thing just popped. Let's see if I can find this real quick. Another thing just popped up where Trump is taking on a reporter at the New York Times. Now, let me preface this before I even read it. 9/11 is in how many days? About 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. And by the way, we'll be at Hueytown Pawn, and love to see y'all if you live out in the Hueytown area in 2 weeks. But can you imagine 25 years later how bastardized the coverage is going to be? We're 2 weeks out, and we've already seen the Canadian Broadcasting Company decide to tell its reporters not to call the 9/11 attacks terrorism, quote, without attribution, which means don't just write it as fact. If somebody's going to call it terrorism, let them be the source of that. That'd be like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. If somebody got shot in the middle of the street, you wouldn't call it a shooting. You'd have to say police claimed there was a shooting. But anyway, so they got clowned on that. And here's the other thing about mainstream media. You know what? They were all bent. They had their panties in a twist yesterday over the Lake Ontario thing about the relations between Canada and the United States. Not the CBC embarrassing their whole industry by guiding their reporters not to call it terrorism. You see their values? So here comes another New York Times reporter getting in Trump's crosshairs over their 9/11 coverage. Here's what Trump just posted a little while ago. Her name is Maggie Hagerman, or Margot Hagerman or whatever from the Times. He called her maggot. I don't know if that was intentional. I pretty much bet it was. He goes, the fake reporter from the failing New York Times, an unattractive person, both inside and out, and who knows less about than most reporters on the beat. Quote, she's a scammer. Trump's the king of run-on sentences, by the way, when he does this. Made up a story that on September the 11th, I'm not going to the World Trade Center in New York City because they won't let me make a speech, and I'm going to the Pentagon because I'm a featured speaker. That is more corrupt news. I've been to the New York many times over the years. No one ever speaks. It's a solemn ceremony. I never even thought about what she made up. And besides, I would love not to speak because I'm speaking all the time. And this is the day to remember the victims and their beautiful family members. Maggot Hagerman is a phony, and the New York Times knows it. It will all be revealed in the lawsuit against them. Remember, that got advanced recently, just like the BBC lawsuit. And another lawsuit against the organization, which now gives out the discredited Pulitzer Prize, blah, blah, blah. The Russia hoax, which turned out to be a con job. If she were ever forced to reveal her sources, you would find out that they either don't exist or they didn't say what she reported. She's been falsely writing about me for years, and she's a stalker. And he goes on and just trashes this woman. So they, again, it's like the, what's the young lady they went to trashing the last 2 weeks? This Natalie, whatever her name is, that's one of Trump's personal assistants. Without giving full context to her backstory, this kid survived bone cancer. She was told that there was nothing that could be done. Nothing. The doctor said, you need to get comfortable and get your lives, get yourself in order. Because Trump in the first term, and y'all remember this, a lot of anybody that's ever been through cancer, passed the right to try law. It gave an opportunity for people to get therapeutic treatments that would have been banned under the old regimen. And she credits that with saving her life. She kept fighting. She didn't take no for an answer. She survived it. And then eventually, I think she got called up on the stage at an event where this was the issue. She got close to the Trump people. They made her an assistant. She feels this, for all the misplaced priorities of the media and other people for that matter, she feels like she owes her life to this man allowing that. And so she wound up at the very center of the administration being a personal assistant. They call her the printer because Trump likes printed, they call her the human printer because Trump likes printed documents. He doesn't want to sit around on a screen. And so she's the one that will, whatever he needs, she grabs it and gets it printed and gets it to him. She literally carries around a printer so she can convert that stuff to paper for the president. I've worked for a public official just like that. He didn't understand email at the beginning of that administration and just wanted things printed out. People, get their preferences, but she's nothing but just devoted and loyal. And they turn devotion into some kind of tawdry implication that there's some kind of intimate affair between he and this young person. And no one in their orbit believes it, has reported that. There's no sourcing on it. So then what happens is they mainstream it, they get it into Daily Beast, and then you have jackasses like this Ossoff over in Georgia who will repeat it with innuendo. He didn't actually say it, just kind of implies that Trump's flying around with this young woman. And if you knew the real story, we need a little more loyalty in this life. We need a little more devotion to cause like that in this life. And they just clown themselves. But it also shows you that they're just out of things to do. I said it a little while ago. I don't know what they're going to focus their energy on once they don't have this constant target. They're already losing audience. They're losing subscriptions. The world's moving on without them and their old style of doing things. And they keep trying stuff. So now the latest is Trump's a big old fat baby and he doesn't want to come to 9/11. This guy lived it. He lived 9/11. And so did many other people. The people that don't care, the people that have the opposite views of the rest of this country on 9/11 would be the actual mayor of the damn city, Mamdani. And this complete tool they're running out in Michigan, this Al Sayed guy. That's who you need to be covering and whether or not they're going to show up at 9/11. Anyway, don't get me pissed off. It's too late on a Friday. I got to get it together. Alabama Bath's bringing you the show tonight. This is a company that can help you change something in your house that could help your whole life, and that is your tub shower combo system. If you've got one of those, and many of us have those, where you have a tub and a shower built in together, it's hard to stand up in there and get a shower sometimes. It's so slick. They're so slick. That wasn't a thought. If tubs were to hold water, showers were to run on you, but as medicine has improved, as healthcare has actually improved, people are living longer and aging into their homes in a different way. And these adaptations have come along that make life a whole lot better for people that are losing a little mobility. Check into it, get rid of that janky thing, get something beautiful built in its place in 2 days from a company that's been around for more than 40 years and a team that really cares about what they're doing. They're not going to pressure you. They're just going to give you an honest quote. Isn't that nice nowadays to just get an honest quote? It is alabamabaths.com. Y'all reach out to them. If you want to see one of these build outs, they've got them in their studio over in Homewood. alabamabaths.com. Back here in just a minute. 525 Leland Live, talking Internet 5. Y'all get on back in here as we get ready to wrap things up here for this Friday. Floor Tech Concrete Coatings next up. I just think I love it when local folks kind of show what our state and city can do. And Floor Tech's one of these companies that came along and said, man, the whole country's getting this wrong. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we think we've come up with a better product than they have. This is a concrete coating that's so good they guarantee it for the life of the home, of the structure, really. If you've got a business application, you're going to put this in a retail space or something like that. Kevin he told me the whole story when I first met him. They just went in the lab and said, why did the basic scientific question was, why do these products suck? Or fail is the way he put it, but they do suck. Because they peel, they yellow, they fade. I've given the story that I put one of these projects in one time, and it just wasn't too long before it just didn't look as good as I thought it would. But your situation, whatever it is, usually it's a personal garage. It's going to look great, and the color's going to last. It's not going to do any of those things. It's not going to peel. It's not going to fade. It's not going to yellow because they took the impurities out. They've got a pure product. It's thicker. It's harder to put on, but they guarantee it. And it doesn't off gas because the impurities are that gassy smell you smell for a couple of weeks. It dries quicker because, again, product purity. You can be on it in just a matter of like a day, I think. You're back on there, can move your stuff back in into your garage, and it'll look beautiful, and you can clean that garage, keep it always clean and protected. It's called Floor Tech, T-E-K, floortechcoatings.com, floortechcoatings.com. Well, yesterday we were talking about this lion, and it turns out I saw some pictures of it today. It's a lioness that's on the loose with a cub. She has got her cub, and she's running around Indiana. And they still haven't found this thing. There are a lot more pictures of it with so many cameras being around all over the place. And the cub's very, very small. And there's a blue collar. That's the only identifying marker. I guess other than that, the other identifying marker is it's a lion. And you don't see that a whole lot in Indiana. They still don't know where it came from. But AJ, you'll get a kick out of this. Somebody has started, why don't I think of this stuff? Somebody started an X account, and it's just called Lion. and the lion is responding to all the other posts about the lion. And the one I just saw was like, it was like, authorities say the lion may be in this area. And the lion said, as a reply, authorities need to mind their business. So you leave it to the internet to try to make this lion story fun. So far, there haven't been any incidents. What worries me about it is it's a mama lion with her baby, and you don't want to mess with that. Unless this lion's name is Lindsay by some chance. Lindsay Clancy, that was a Clancy joke. Anyway, too soon. So yeah, the Indiana lion still out there doing what it's got to do. We'll keep up with that story.
So this would be the one time I wish that lion was like in Pennsylvania because of Penn State. Ain't they like the Natty Lions or something like that?
Well, they were too busy selling cocaine last week to have any lion problems. They got their own issues. It's going to change the whole way that whiteout game looks this year at Penn State. Yeah, they all look like little lines of cocaine there in the stands. Y'all, okay, tell you what time it is. It's almost, well, I hear the music now. I know exactly what time it is. Let's get this bottom of the hour break. We'll come back if he's available. We'll talk to Thomas and then get some of y'all in here. And let me round up a couple of more news items and we'll call it a day. I don't know who this Milo Yiannopoulos is. For some reason I should know who he is. Some kind of weirdo, provocative internet type guy. Well, he's got nabbed by ICE. They say he came into the country in 2019 and overstayed a visa. So they have put him on a plane as well. Apparently he's subject to deportation. Again, I don't know anything about him. Some people call him a far right influencer, whatever that is. So good. We got plenty of that in the country. We don't need any more of that. Back in a minute. Leland Live, talking Internet 5. Y'all stay tuned. All right, y'all, 5:34. We're getting ready to shut this thing down for the weekend. Let's talk to Thomas. He's over at Stockton Mortgage. Thomas, what's happening with y'all as we wrap things up today?
Man, we're finishing up the month and having a fantastic month, helping lots of your listeners. And, want to point out that, over the weekend, we work when you work, when you need us. And so if you're out and about, it's going to be a beautiful weekend this weekend. If you're out and about and looking at new homes, we have lots of programs available. It's a buyer's market right now. So if you're out looking for a new home to buy or build, hey, give us a call. We are available always to help you with your mortgage questions and getting you pre-approved. If you're looking for 100% financing, we have that available, as we've talked about many times. So give us a call, even over the weekends, 205-859-8859, or savewithstockton.com.
Savewithstockton.com. You have a good weekend, Thomas, and we'll talk with you next week.
Yes. All right, man. Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye.
All right, man. There's Thomas tonight getting on out of here. He's ready to go. Okay, this Yiannopoulos guy, I wasn't going to go too heavily into this, but I'm sitting here looking at the story. And Andrew McLean, hey, thanks for listening this late on the weekend, Andrew. He just kind of filled me in. Andrew's more in the know of these kind of people I guess, what would you even call this genre of people? They're these provocateurs on the internet. Right now, the Democrats are being labeled with this Hassan Piker. And I sort of remember this guy's name, this Milo Yiannopoulos. Andrew says he was he's from the United Kingdom. He's a gay guy, attached himself to Trump early on and would just run around doing provocative things in support of Trump, which is funny because, with the notion that ICE is running around kidnapping 5-year-old brown kids, as if you listen to the left, that's what they're doing. They're just, if you're overstaying your visa, you're overstaying your visa. And apparently this guy did and was hanging around. He was in New Orleans at the airport down there, and they nabbed him, his mugshot. They put his mugshot. He does not look happy. I've seen a lot of sad mugshots in the past. This guy looks very put upon at the moment. Looks like he hadn't slept in a month. And he's been nabbed and accused of illegally entering the country through the city of New York. I believe they said the illegal entry was in 2019. So there we go. That should be fun to see how that's going to play out. Let's see what he says. Total legal immunity for ICE agents when they are on duty. So he's apparently he's an ICE supporter, but it shows that they're trying to equally enforce when they find people that are overstaying. There's no way ICE is going to go and round up these folks who are out here trying to, do construction and work in restaurants and not get this jerk off. So they got him. So that's interesting. I don't know enough about him or his ilk or people that he hangs around with to have too much more to say about it, but there's that story. Let me see what else we got here tonight. There's just things popping all over the place. There's another group called Palestine Action. I have to take you back in the hot tub time machine to the time where after the terror incident in October 7th, there was this sudden explosion of pro-Palestinian propaganda and demonstrations on college campuses, flag burning. And they used a lot of the Antifa tactics. And without having a lot of facts at hand, we talked about it a little bit in those times of how this is the same people. It's globalist funding for the sake of disruption. And here was another hot button issue where they could just sow those seeds of disruption. Let me pause there and give you a broader picture. And I've talked about this before. When the communists, the Bolsheviks, when other people in history want to have upheaval and be able to take over a governmental system or a country, they've got to have dissatisfaction in the country. Their argument is a hard sell. Their envy-based argument of somebody's got it better than me. I need justice. Let's cut their heads off like the Jacobins in France. Let's run around with guillotines and cut people's heads off because we're going after the bourgeoisie. They have to have that kind of argument. So they got to lay the fertile ground and shape the theater of thought to get people dissatisfied. So riot and disruption is a tool that they've always used. And when you know that, and you understand the Cloward and Piven stuff, and the rules for radicals and their whole playbook, you see it instantly. You know a manufactured riot or manufactured outrage. And so we saw it completely during BLM. That was a shaping incident designed to create unease during the 2020 election. They threw everything at that election. COVIDs, shutdowns, censorship, BLM riots, all of it. They threw all of it. And then, of course, the lawfare stuff they did against Trump. And then stealing the election in January 6th. That was a lot. There was a lot of orchestration. But you learn to spot these things, and you know when people all showed up with pre-printed, professionally done signs, and they're all wearing matching outfits, and they've got their training and tactics, the same way the Palestinian people was the same way the BLM people were. Some of these people they don't have jobs. They couldn't think their way out of a wet paper bag, but suddenly they're organized and very militant. Same thing with the ICE protests. That was designed to do what it did, to get somebody killed so they'd have a flashpoint. So here comes the Palestinian issue. Well, today the Trump administration has designated a group called Palestinian Action as a global terror group, and Marco Rubio has connected them financially to Portland's Antifa groups and to the Hamas organizations and the IRGC. All these groups are funding and planning each other. They've got different causes, or do they? You would think one's pro-Palestinian and one is Iranian and one is this or that. But really, the point and the cause is disruption in the United States, social upheaval, unease, lawlessness. It's an old playbook, and we got to quit being played by it. So good, the administration's they're not letting any of this stuff rest. So just like when they busted out the Southern Poverty Law Center for funding their own, that's stagecraft too. They're funding their own opponents. They need an enemy to be able to get on TV and call themselves the righteous civil rights organization. You got to have some Klansmen. And if there aren't any anymore, because that's a dead thing, that doesn't exist, they go and manufacture Klansmen or find some rednecks in a meth lab and give them some uniforms and pay them some money so they can have a villain. So much of what we see in the news and from our government and other people is nothing but stagecraft. I don't even know what's real anymore sometimes. But good on Justice for going after these clowns. All American Metals, let's talk. AA-metal.com. AA-metal.com. I've literally been in this building. This is the studio where I'm standing. If you're watching on YouTube, is where I've got my home studio. It's where I've got my home office, all my guy stuff, my tools. I've been beating on a lawnmower, fixing some, shaping some metal this morning since about 7:30. I've been in this building except for lunch all day. I use it for everything. I could probably just live in here. That's the value of having a building like this on your property. If you've got residential property and you need some overflow space or storage space or hobby space or entertainment space, some people build these things just to entertain, and we've done that in this pole barn as well. Clear everything out, makes a nice little gathering spot. Steel goes up quickly. That was one of my favorite parts of it. Once you get your foundation laid out and any kind of zoning or things like that you have to do, it is very quick once they get the shell erected. Then you can go to work beautifying it and doing a lot of creative things to make it look good. And they're ready to help you at All American Metals. This is a true steel company. They do major projects. You can have a massive warehouse with giant beams, and they can create that for you too. Or just a residential pole barn like this, or a shed, or any kind of thing that you need on your property. These folks are really, really sharp. They'll work hard to get it exactly like you want it. And because they control the whole process from the design, which is really key. Make sure, I wish I had had somebody press me a little bit on the shape and the sort of the length of this building. I might have had some different ideas. So they're there to do that for you. Make sure you got it right for your use. Spit out a set of engineered plans. You can take those for your zoning and approvals if you're going to do financing, or you've got government zoning where they're going to need to see what you're doing, and that's true for a lot of folks. Then when you're ready, they're ready, and they'll bring that whole building to you. They'll produce it in their factories right here in Alabama and put that thing on their trucks. Something's not right, they fix it because they're right here. They want it to be right. They want you to tell everybody about them. 2 families, generations of them now since the 1960s, and they know steel. Look up the website at aa-metal.com if you're thinking about a building yourself. aa-metal.com, commercial, residential, residential red iron. If you've got to put red iron in a residential project, they're ready to help. It's aa-metal.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all. Alabama Gold Refinery. One more time about Steve and his shop over there. This is a really neat place. If you've been thinking about starting to build your interest in gold or silver or platinum or any of these things, Steve's there for you. It's a fair shop. It's a safe shop. They've got security measures in place for you to be able to come and go with your money and your valuables and take care of business. And hey, it's none of anybody else's business too. If you're going to be at Alabama Gold Refinery, that's kind of the beauty of it. So much of our stuff nowadays is tracked and registered. You can park this for emergencies anywhere you want to, and have it for a rainy day. Gold it will always have value. It always has, no matter what happens with inflation and governments. And maybe it's something you ought to look into. And you can do it now that you've got a reliable place to go. You can pop in there anytime you got a little extra spare change and you want to start building your collection. You'll be surprised at how fast it builds up. Same thing again with silver, platinum, and they buy, sell, and trade. So you can sell your stuff there. If you've got pre-owned jewelry, some people would just call that scrap. Sometimes it's just sentimental pieces you don't need anymore. They'll give you fair value for that, or trade with you. They can trade. Say you'd rather have some coins instead of all these pieces. Steve's good like that. He'll throw a little incentive on you to come in and do that as well. Great shop, great location, centrally located in Homewood, right across from that big old Regions Bank. It's Alabama Gold Refinery, AGR, Alabama Gold Refinery.
All right. Okay. So I know you were talking about this, but I wasn't sure if you had said that about the lion and the lioness and the cub.
Yeah. What's new? You got something new?
Okay. So the report sighting of a lioness and a cub on the loose in central Indiana turned out to be a false alarm. Authorities confirmed the animals spotted were actual hogs along a tree line.
What? Those Indiana people don't know a hog from a lion. There were pictures everywhere. There's it's got a blue collar and it's running around with its cub. The internet's just completely fake. So this lion account that I suddenly started following, that's just a waste of time now.
Yeah, I was like, what? No.
Is that the same case with the monkey in Tuscaloosa? We didn't hear anything else about that either.
It's probably you know what. It's so I blame the Mobile leprechaun. Somebody got in some stuff, and then they started seeing things. Yeah, they started seeing things. They started hallucinating.
Well, everything's fake nowadays. They could have AI'd some pictures. I believe the Mobile leprechaun was real, though. I'm not sure about the Tuscaloosa monkey or the Indiana lion by now. Those are fake. The leprechaun has to be real. There were too many people fired up about it.
Yeah, that was.
Know where to go.
You had search parties. You had a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, thanks for that update. We can end the week now knowing that was just a gigantic fraud case that was going all over the internet for a while.
Yeah. So, I guess they don't have hogs up in Indiana, which is kind of weird because if you've been to Indiana, there's Indianapolis, and then there is nothing.
Country. It's like corn in that one town.
Yes. So. Yeah, it turned out to be hogs.
Well, at least we got some closure. Meantime, people down in Arkansas are going, "Hey, man, that's our mascot. We know what it looks like." The old boar hogs are mean as hell, too. I'd rather come across a lion than one of those things. You better be ready to shoot. Okay, here's a sad, stupid story. I don't know what to make of this either. Maybe AJ can go to work digging this one up, too. Apparently, a 63-year-old man has just walked into the Google headquarters in Lower Manhattan, or at some point today did this, and set himself on fire. Now that I dig further in the story, it was at around 3 o'clock today, New York time, which would have been right when we started our show. Just walked into the lobby and set himself on fire. Security guards extinguished the flames. The man had severe burns, transported to Weill Cornell Medical Center. That's where my son worked for 6 years. I know that medical center well. Big ER department there too. Good Lord. I think they also have a tremendous level 1 burn unit in addition to that. Let me just do a couple of little follow-ups on that. Could just be a mentally disturbed person, or it could be something to do with Google itself. It reminds me of the guy that ran into the NFL offices in Manhattan and shot the place up. You remember that one? Claiming he had CTE. Then you had the shooting of the healthcare executive. These stories aren't interconnected, but they're similar in that people who feel put upon by some of these corporations are acting out violently either toward themselves or others because of their beef. But we know about, of course, the United Healthcare CEO that's been in the news the last couple of weeks, being shot cold-blooded in the streets. This is a male suspect, set himself on fire in the lobby. Just trying to get the latest on this. See if there's any kind of statements or if he shouted anything. Man, the world's gone mad. I mean, it's just gone. I know people have always done these things. There was a famous case, infamous case, really. I don't know if y'all remember this from way back. It was before I came to Birmingham to report. But there was a guy who set himself on fire over in Jacksonville, Alabama. And I think the photographer that was involved worked for at the time, it was just WJSU, which is now the 40 and 3340 here in Birmingham. But it was just a UHF station over in Jacksonville when I was growing up. And I actually remember as a kid going over there and recording stuff. But one of the photographers, if I have this story straight, and maybe it's been a long time, so I'll try to tell it as best I can. But the guy was threatening to set himself on fire, and this reporter showed up somehow on the scene, this photographer, and the guy set himself on fire, and the photographer kept rolling. And the dilemma back then was, why didn't you put the camera down and put the guy out? But your instincts kick in when you're in photography like that, is to kind of get your shot. So I sort of felt sorry for the guy, but at the same time, people self-emulating is it's not unusual, and metaphorically they do it in politics all the time. Wow, that's a weird way to end the week with that story coming across. One more time about Hueytown Pawn, just to let you know, we will be there 2 weeks from today doing a live show. I'm excited about that. It's on 9/11. We'll be hanging out with a lot of patriots. Y'all come exercise your Second Amendment rights and see what they have to offer. There'll be deals and specials. Tommy won't quite let me tell you the whole deal yet, but starting next week, we'll tell you about some of the savings. And I hope to see y'all over in Hueytown next week. Then, of course, Lonnie's Furniture Company, man. They've got their Labor Day sale already going. Started it before our show there last week. And deals all over the store. It sounds cliche, but it's too much to go down and itemize every single thing. We'll start in the bedding department. Incredible sale. You will not find a better deal on a better mattress anywhere around than Lonnie is. If you got mattress on the brain, as people tend to do, there's always these mattress sales and bedding sales during Labor Day. Well, theirs is already going on. I don't know about everybody else. And I'm telling you, their selection, they got more beds out on display than a lot of bedding stores. So you got a lot to side-by-side comparison. That's one of those things you got to kind of try it on, kick your shoes off and see what's best, what's firm enough, what's not. So many different styles and technologies nowadays. So there's that. They got the Lazy Boys on the ground, ready to ship, ready to bring to you. Deals on those. All the brand names, Bassett, Stressless. And then store-wide, in addition, they do have financing, by the way. Store-wide, they've got this buy more, save more sale, which is kind of self-explanatory, but it's sort of multi-layered. So if you're going to go in there and check it out, make sure you ask them about it up front, and they'll show you the scale and sort of how much you can spend and what that savings would be. Just an incentive for you to come do business with them, and you don't have to wait till next weekend. It's going on right now, going on tomorrow, going on all next week. Take advantage of it. It's the Buy More, Save More sale in Kimberly, Alabama at Lonnie's Furniture Company. This just in as well, approximately 100,000 Oots cheese balls have spilled off a truck. I was about to tell you where, and then my computer just scrolled right on me. It's those little those big giant balls of cheese balls. You ever get addicted to eating those, AJ, and then you just can't stop yourself? Before I went on Project Lean Nation, I would get in a can of those back in the day. Getting all over your face, all over your hands. Problem is, once you go there, you can't scratch anymore. Your hands are dedicated to the cheese ball dust. Anyway, they fell off the back of a truck, and that's quite a scene. All right, that's going to do it for us. 545-9950. Y'all stay tuned for Breaking Bread. They're on the way, too. We'll see y'all on Monday.
Have a good weekend, and goodbye, AJ.